Okay, fine. So let us continue. I want to keep moving forward, but I think we'll have to speak about Yom Kippur as well. And I think next week, if everybody's around, just before Sukkot, we should be able to do it, no? Everybody's around?
Yeah, no, we'll do this.
Okay. We're going to be talking, can be taken into all Moadim every day of life, but especially the Yom Neraim and Sukkot. Very heavy on the bitachon area, in the area of bitachon. So let's go right there, 229. Let's get to the fourth response, and then from there maybe we'll flow into Yom Kippur talk. So we're responding to that person where either he's saying it out loud or it's in the back of his mind. He doesn't realize he's maybe thinking this way, that he's not able to fully engage more in his avodas Hashem and all different aspects of avodas Hashem. He's not able to calm down working for the Gashmi. It's because he has so many obligations, himself, his wife, his kids, maybe his grandkids he's thinking about in a bigger picture. He needs to be able to provide for them. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu, you gave them to me. He's a big mom, and Kadosh Baruch Hu, you gave me this family, and I am obligated to take care of them, and therefore I have to do that in a very serious way. And because of that, he's lightening, he's not as strong in his avodas Hashem. And he thinks that it is 100% appropriate, what he's doing. And so the Baal Chavos Avos is explaining to him slowly but surely that the way you're thinking, first of all, you might not be thinking, so we're going to show you what you're thinking. And even if you are thinking in a certain way, we're going to show you how maybe your thinking is wrong. Maybe. And you can't go hard on a person. You have to ask questions on other people. Even though we're not asking on anybody else, really we're asking ourselves, am I thinking this way? And we have to say, maybe I'm thinking this way. And I challenge yourself. Because that's the only way that we grow, is we challenge ourselves. So what's the fourth response? On page 229. V'haravi ki hamemashkein es chaveru humashkein oso la'achas mesholosh ilos. Achas men shema ya'ani v'lo saseg yadu. V'ashenis shema yikbod yadu al mashi yesh atzlo. V'lo yuchal lihipara mimenu. V'ashlishis mivnei shu yorei shema yamos ashol yimtza'eu. V'amashkein refuas hamadvim ha'elu bein b'nei adam. The fourth response to such a person, okay? A person who takes a security pledge from his friend, right? Again, everybody remembers what we're talking about here, right? Taking a security pledge. He does so for one of three reasons. Why would a person take a security pledge? Right? The guy says, I'm going to pay you back in 6 months. Okay, I know you have 6 months, but I want your watch. I want a certain, I want to lean on your karka. We'll get back into the Gemara. Right? I want to lean on your property. Why would he do that? Number one, out of concern that perhaps his friend will become poor and hence unable to pay his debt. This is classic. You're going to owe me $50,000. I don't know if you're going to have $50,000. After you invest this money, you might lose it all. I want to make sure I get it back. So therefore, I need a lien on your property. I need something to hold on to in order to guarantee that I'll get paid back. Number two, out of a concern that perhaps he will intentionally refuse to pay his debt. Right? I trust you, but how much can I fully trust you? Things might change in your life. You might become, you might try to run away with the money, and you might just refuse to pay. But if I'm holding on to your collateral, so then I'm going to get paid back. We understand. Very logical. And three, perhaps his friends will die or be unable to find him. Right? Just might not be able to pay back for that reason. The security pledge is widely considered to be a remedy for all three problems. You understand? So you have the money beforehand, or you have some lien that you'll be able to get back legally or whatever it is. So therefore, the point is, you will be calm. That's the goal, right? I want to be calm. I want to feel secure that I will receive the money back. So on page 230, the author continues by saying that these reasons apply only to humans. Okay, so let's just jump into it. If people were to be confident with each other insofar as these three concerns, if this was your best friend and you don't think he's going to run away from you, if you're talking about somebody who has a lot of money tied up in other places, just that for right now he needed a short-term loan, but he has plenty. If there were other reasons that can secure you that money, then it would be without a doubt be considered a disgrace for them to take a security pledge from each other. It would be a lack of trust between each other. Again, we understand how to go into all the details of business and depending who's lending, but there could be times where it would be inappropriate to ask for a mashkon showing you don't trust that person. It could be inappropriate. All the more so when it comes to the Creator, may He be blessed, regarding whom these traits are not applicable. We'll go through them in a minute, at all. It is even more disgraceful and astonishing that people should take security pledges from Him. And just read the pasuk, Ukvar Amar HaKasev, Li HaKesev, Li HaZav, V'Amar, V'Osher, V'Kavod Milfanecha. The pasuk already says, in Chagai, the silver is mine and the gold is mine. And it says in Divrei Yomim, and wealth and honor are firm before you. Because you have all the money. So a person is stating, and we hopefully believe, that A, will the Kadosh Baruch Hu become poor and hence unable to pay his debt? There's no such thing. Kadosh Baruch Hu has unlimited cash, liquid. He's got everything. Number. Let's go back over here on page 54, where they just write the 7 qualities, or if you remember the 7 qualities that foster trust in God. You have to have 7 emunas. You have to have 7 beliefs in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and how He runs the world and runs your life. And in order to be able to be calm with bitachon, number 3 we'll say, Almighty. No one and nothing can stop God from fulfilling His wishes. He's the Almighty. He has unlimited access to whatever you need. And therefore, it would be inappropriate to be concerned, because if I work for you now and I do avodas Hashem and I lighten up on my business end, it would be inappropriate to think, well, maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to become poor and not be able to pay me. That's ridiculous, right? Number 2, what was the concern that this security pledge guy has? Out of a concern that perhaps he will intentionally refuse to pay his debt, right? Sometimes a person might not want to pay his bills. It happens all the time. I'm not paying you for whatever reason. Makes it. So therefore, you have to take a security pledge to make sure that doesn't happen. With a Kadosh Baruch Hu, would he intentionally refuse to pay his debt? So a person might become, I don't know, if he's nervous, let's go back to bitachon. What does it say? I don't know, pick one. Let's go with generous and kind, number 7. Don't worry if you are deserving, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still generous. Right? One of the emunas, number 7, this is a big one, especially now by Yom Kippur time, we'll get back into it, is that we believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whether you deserve it or not, HaKadosh Baruch Hu might still give you if that's what He decides is the best for you. As that's another quality. HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides. So why would it be HaKadosh Baruch Hu, would He ever intentionally refuse to pay His debt? He would only intentionally refuse to pay the debt if it's not good for you. Sometimes it's not good to receive certain rewards. Right? It might add to a person's ego. It might add to a person's jealousies. It might add to whatever it may be. Part of bitachon is to trust that it's not shaykh that a Kadosh Baruch Hu would intentionally refuse to pay his debt just to get back at us. Such a thing. If a person needs a punishment, we also believe that the punishment fits the crime. Kadosh Baruch Hu he's the Melech HaMishpat. He is appropriate. Again, we have to go back to the basics of our emunah and our bitachon each time and challenge ourselves. What am I worried about? Why am I not putting more time into avodas Hashem? Why am I putting so much extra time into business? Is it because I'm nervous he won't pay me to go through the list? And the third one is, perhaps his friends will die or be unable to find him. There's no such thing by Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu is not going anywhere. Right? If you don't believe in that, then that's a problem. So all these reasons that a person would take a security pledge don't apply by Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now the problem could be, and this is what we have to speak about, to challenge ourselves, is that a person might be lacking Pashat Emunah. That's what we're talking about here. If you're nervous to hold back, whatever the situation might be for the person to hold back, to whatever changes mindset, to try to enter more into Avodas Hashem and to pull back in some way from Gashmis, whatever that means practically for your life. But you're unable to because you're too nervous. Well, again, as we've been explaining, you might have a basic emunah problem. You might not believe that a Kadosh Baruch Hu has all the funds. You might think that it's this business person has all the money and I have to make a deal with this person. Or the patients, if you're a doctor, or whatever the case may be. A person might have a doubt that a Kadosh Baruch Hu, he doesn't, because I sinned, he's just not going to give me what I need. He's going to get back at me. Right? Like a human. Like a human who gets upset at somebody, he might try to hurt that person, withhold money from them. Even though I owe you, I'm not paying you because you weren't so nice to me the other day. So a person might, unfortunately, think like Kadosh Baruch Hu is like that also. But if you make a mistake and you think that a Kadosh Baruch Hu, quote unquote, thinks like a human being, you've just downgraded a Kadosh Baruch Hu to a human being, which means you're not a mountain. It's a problem in Emunah. If you think that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is not going to be around, a Kadosh Baruch Hu is not going to find you, Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to, there's no such thing, die, there's no such thing, then you have a problem with Emunah. And therefore, yes, we understand why you're not able to hold back and to be calm in your life, because you don't have the ABCs of Emunah. And Emunah isn't just Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world and he runs the world, very simply, very vague. Because we all believe that. But let's start breaking down that second aspect of Hashgacha Pratis that we call, that he runs the world. The 7 conditions that bitachon is based on are 7 emunas breaking down how do you understand Hashgacha Pratis. Right? How does the Kadosh Baruch Hu run the world? Well, he runs it out of compassion and love. He runs it with attentiveness. He's paying attention. He's running it with his almightiness that no one else can do anything if he doesn't want it to be. He's running it in a way of all-knowing. He's running it in a way of exclusive care. I'm just reading the words on page 54. Again, the 7 emunas, we'll call it, the 7 conditions of emunah that one's bitachon is based on. He's running the world only in his hands, and he's running the world in a way of generous and kindness. These 7, you need these emunas as subcategories in Hashgacha Pratis in order to be able to just have emunah. If you don't have that, of course you're not going to have bitachon. Of course we're going to make big mistakes. We're going to be nervous and worried and anxious and upset and bad and frustrated. Because the only way we get out of all those things is if we have emunah and bitachon. And if you want bitachon, you have to have the ikr is right, the heart, the calmness is from bitachon. The only way you can have the heart of bitachon, of calm, is if you have the right emunah in the head. Yes? So that's what we're pointing out over here. A person has to think. He has to go back to these things. Do I really believe these things? Go back to the list, page 54, right? I would say this would be considered part of the mitzvah deraisa of tshuva, to go and do you believe, to do tshuva, to, whatever, let's say classic tshuva about sin, and we'll get back to that. That's almost like that's old school. It's become like a little, but to do a tshuva, of whatever tshuva you're saying, vidu and charata, if you don't have a emunah proper, you're just kind of missing the boat, I think. If you don't have a real emunah in a Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the world and understanding, then who are you doing tshuva to? Like outer space a little bit. Like we're doing tshuva because we were told to do it. So we know that, how do you do it? You do a vidoy, you do a charata, hasham, baganu, but where is it really going? If you ask a person, where's it going? I don't know, it's going to Hashem somewhere, like outer, he's in outer space, no? He's got like a spaceship up there, like past Pluto. Or past out of the galaxy. That's what we're talking about over here? That's our emunah? The Borei Olam is like a space cadet. Kids grow up that way. I grew up that way, because what else did I know? Hashem's like, he's out there in a vague way. But do we still believe that? Is that still how, right? Maybe. So we have to make sure that we have emunah. It's impossible to do a proper tshuva. Okay, halachic tshuva, maybe you can get away with. We'll call it halachic tshuva. You just say what you did wrong. You say, I'm never going to do it again. I'll give you an A+. But it's not going to change your life. So if you want to be a straight halacha Jew, no problem. But bitachon, emunah, we're talking a little bit deeper. I think everybody understands. At least in this chabur. I don't know about everybody else outside, but you're not going to be able to live the way that a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants fully, with the simcha and the tranquility and the nachas that he wants us to live with, if we don't have basic emunah in him. Okay. We have to also, again, bring back the same in it's important to chazer over many, many times, is that besides the fact that a person may not have these, well, I'll say it like this, why doesn't a person have these basic levels of emunah, that he's making these mistakes, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu might not be able to pay back, HaKadosh Baruch Hu might not want to pay back? How does that happen? So either A, and let's just, hopefully this is the reason, we just weren't educated. We weren't educated properly in emunah, and now at whatever age we're at, 40, 50, hopefully we should teach our children at 12, 13, 14, 15, but wherever you are in life, you could start from there, there's no problem. It's also part of tshuva. We don't say it's too late. Wherever you are, you start from. So let's start learning about emunah. Let's go back to the facets of emunah, page 54, Even though we're in the Sefer of Bitachon, go back over the list, go one by one, and ask yourself, do I believe in this? Well, if I believe in this, then why do I feel this way? That's a good question. And ask yourself and challenge yourself. Very important. If you need help with that, you can ask for help from other people. So it could be, again, why aren't we aware of these emunas? We just weren't taught. And if we would just be taught and we'd go through it, we would be able to download it. But it could be that even if a person does know it, but he might have a little bit of a hisnagdus against it. And this we discussed already, but it's very important to keep bringing it up, especially now, because I don't want to believe in this. Because I think I deserve more than I'm getting. Right? I don't want to have to be mevatel, nullify what I think is right because of what you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, want to just give me and provide for me. I want more than that. And if I want to do it this way, I'm going to do it this way. A person can have a deepest nagdus against emunah. A person will almost never say this out loud. In the back of his head, and this is how a lot of relationships work, really, really deep, under the surface, right? Tip of the iceberg, people could be smiling at each other, but if when you go under the water, on deep, 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 I don't like you because of what you did to me 10 years ago. Right? You might have, what's the word? Not a vendetta, maybe a vendetta, a grudge against a person that did to you 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and it's just sitting there. And it's a total breakdown of your relationship. You think you're smiling with them, they think you're friends and everything, but deep, deep down, you don't like this person. But do people have personal grudges against the Kodesh Baruch Hu? So be very careful. You have to ask him that. Because you have a personal grudge against the Kodesh Baruch Hu, you're not going to be able to live in the now with emunah bitachon. And if you're not going to live with emunah bitachon, you're not going to be able to be calm, tranquil, happy, pull back from Gashmis, because you don't trust him. And you don't want to trust him, because he burned you in the past. Because he didn't give you what you wanted many, many years ago. And I'm not even talking about tragedies, and that's a sugya that has to be worked through, and I am not a person who would even want to get into that sugya with people. But lo a person has a big tragedy when they're younger, they lost up somebody, or something happened to them. There could be a very, very deep inyan against the Kodesh Baruch Hu. I'm not judging this person. We never should judge.
I think grudge has a little bit of a negative connotation, as if you shouldn't really hold a grudge. But if somebody got burnt or is suffering and has pain, you turn to Hashem and say, Hashem, you really don't have such a great track record here.
People who are deeply emotional can't speak with such calmness.
Right.
They don't even want to talk to him.
Right. So,
I'm not judging anybody, but a person has to expose himself to himself.
What do you do with that, though? Right? What do you do with that? Right? Hashem, you're great. I love everything you do for me, but you've done all this stuff also. So it's like the source of pain is Hashem, and yet we have to turn back to the actual source of the pain and reconcile it somehow.
With proper emunah bitachon, would also might need a therapist. I don't know. We're going back to that subject, yeah. But at least to know that about yourself. You might need someone to help you work through it. It might be too painful, and there's only a person who wants to. There's a lot of details here, but we're speaking. We're not judging anybody. Chas v'shalom, we're not judging anybody. But for a person to be healed, if a person has a certain sickness. You could fix the skin ailment 1,000 times, but if the problem is a heart problem, once you get to the heart, the skin problem's gonna keep coming back. So there are people who walk around in this world and they have chips on their shoulder. They're carrying a lot of extra weight, and it's destroying them in many areas of life, and they can't figure it out. Whatever it may be. Sometimes it might be it's not because of this person, that person did. It's really because you have a deep grudge, giving a different word if you want, upsetness. You're upset at the Kodesh Baruch Hu for something that he did many, 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 many years ago, and therefore you've never been able to trust him. And the whole world runs on his emunah and trust. So if you're not going to trust the one who runs the world, you're going to have issues in life. And again, not judging anybody, but at least if you want to come with a tikkun kloli, if you want to come with a full remedy, you need to go to the source, because a Kodesh Baruch Hu, if you can become real with him, and Rabbi's Drashi yesterday, if you could be dorish, for those who are there, if you could seek a Kodesh Baruch Hu in a real way and bring back that relationship, which is not going to be easy for many people. And you probably, for these people who I'm speaking about, they do need someone to help them. Someone who they do currently trust. to help them, because it's not easy to go to the person you don't trust and just turn it around. It's almost impossible. It's just not the way it works. You need someone to help you in that area. Chavos Lobos is trying to help us, but he's also limited. He's not here with us, and he doesn't know my personal story. So you do need somebody who you trust and love that can help guide you back if you want. But to know that it's possible, that you hold a deep grudge. Person, finance issues, relationship issues, it's endless. And part of it is because we were never educated in Amunah B'Tachon properly. That's also part of the problem. We never were taught how to deal with tragedy or deal with things that didn't go our way. We didn't know what to do with it. So most people just, what do? They sweep it under the rug. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to, when a person doesn't get what he wants and he expected it and he felt he deserved it very deeply, and he doesn't get it, how does he deal with that? He gets very angry at first. And over time, what happens to the anger? It just subsides. Where did it go? All that energy of anger, where did it go? Over time, it goes away, but it stays in the heart. You didn't answer it up. You didn't, right? You weren't socking it. So it just sits there.
It usually gets covered up.
It gets covered up over time. That's just the way it goes. But you never engaged with it properly because we were never taught how to deal with stuff, which is fascinating to me. That I'm not going to blame the school system, even though you would think that that's where it should happen, but you can't blame them. They're not blaming anybody. It's parents also. We don't teach the kids, whoever it is that's not teaching the kids, how to deal with adversity, how to deal with not getting what you want, not what you expected, deal with the stresses of life. There's no class like that. Stress 101. I don't know why. How could that be? Basic humanness is not taught at all. We just throw you in the world, like, figure it out. But make a parnasa and do this religious stuff and deal with this person and that tragedy, deal with all this stuff. How? Like the nucleus of the real stuff, the heart, nobody teaches. Because we know you throw a kid in the water, he'll learn how to swim, right? Except some of them don't. A lot of them don't. It's a fascinating thing. I don't know what to do with it exactly. I've spoken about it for many years.
Still treading water over here.
We're still treading. We're still treading. You know what? We're alive.
Try to keep the
head up. Yeah, but a person who works on Amunah and Bitachon and Ahava and Dveikis and learning how to be calm and tranquil and to deal with stress and anxiety, we don't have to be treading. We could walking on water. I don't know. It's a fascinating thing. So, again, we weren't educated in Amunah Bitachon, that's our issue, or we have a certain hisnagdus against it because of the way we think that we deserve, or we have grudges against the Kadosh Baruch Hu. But even that probably is because we weren't taught properly. I always want to go back to that. We weren't taught properly, and there's no one to blame. It's just that's a reality. Sometimes, and this is part of the Tshuva of Yom Kippur, sometimes we make mistakes, and there's no one to blame. Not myself, not others. It was just a mistake done. Do Tshuva, move on. There's sometimes where we either blame other people for our mistakes, because really we don't want to blame ourselves, so we have to put it on somebody else. But sometimes you're not to blame either. If no one taught you properly, you don't want to put it on a certain person. And therefore, you're also not to blame. It could be that a person could make a mistake and we don't have to blame somebody. You make a mistake. It used to be, you make a mistake, you bring a carbon chatas, and you do it, and you feel, like we said, you don't feel guilty, but you feel responsible. Okay. Responsible means I'm not a loser. It means I can now be great. It's a big change. Responsible doesn't mean I'm a loser, I'm bad. It means I now have the opportunity to be great. However I got into this situation really doesn't matter. All that matters is that I make the right move right now, and I become stronger, better, more efficient. But we get stuck in the past. Bitachon says, what are you doing? That's not the place to be, I think.
Once I saw an interview with one of the Israeli soldiers, I guess he was the head of the unit or whatever, and a whole bunch of his soldiers got killed in an attack, and he himself was badly injured. And he said in the interview, "Ani lo Hashem, aval ani achrei." I'm not guilty, but I am responsible.
Right.
That was like eye-opening. It's like it's so.
And he's going to come out with that PTSD.
Unbelievable thing to say, right?
You know, I think it's the emes. You can't, because Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, so you can't.
It's all about Hashem.
So therefore, guilty is not. It's almost not appropriate. Even though we have a carbon asham, we have to know how to do it. You can't say, if it's a Kaddish Baruch, then it's not me at all. You have to take responsibility. There is this balance. It's a serious thing, and it's very, very hard for people. Because either they feel guilty, or, and then what happens? They feel so guilty that they don't want to feel guilty, so they just throw the whole thing off, like they just run away. But there's something called responsibility. It's okay. Responsibility is not dark, negative, bad. It's again, it's positive, it's strong, it's happy. Responsibility. It's hard, but it's the strongest move you can make. People don't even know it exists. There was a book, somebody once told me to read it. The whole book you could have given in one chapter. What was it called? Extreme Ownership or something? It's a book about army also, but not Israeli, it's American. Iraq or something. Extreme Ownership? Something like that. And where the whole book was basically about, there was a million things that went wrong, and he was going through and said he could have blamed every single thing on somebody else, but at the end of the day, he just took full, you have to read it, it was built up well. He took full responsibility, not guilt, full responsibility, and like everything changed. Everything that all the negativity just went away, and he became a general, whatever. He became like a big person in the army because he was able to take responsibility, not just either blame everybody else or just run away from it. So with that beginning, let's just talk about Yom Kippur for a minute. I think it's important to Kuda that we probably have spoken of. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about it now. So when it comes to Yom Kippur, of course, Bitachon is very heavily involved in Inyan Tshuva, as we've discussed already in the Avodah of Yom Kippur. And we have to go in, and we spoke about, I think, this last year, we have to go into all Tshuva. But the headquarters of Tshuva is Sesame Tshuva, Yom Kippur, is that if a person does Tshuva, if he does it, right, with the Vido and the Charata, the Azivasachet, the Kabbalah, whatever it is you call Tshuva, but you have to do it, then Kadosh Baruch Hu forgives you. He actually wipes your slate good. We say it in davening. We used to bring karbonos for that. Moshe Rabbeinu has been telling us in Sefer Devarim many times, you're going to sin, but you could do tshuva, and you can move on in life. We have to believe that tshuva actually works. We have to trust that tshuva works. A person, if you are a person who doesn't really believe or trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's, in the Slicha, Mechila, and the Kapara, then you're not going to end up doing, you're not going to end up doing the tshuva, because inside your system, why would I do something that I don't think works? And then, or if a person might do it, whatever, he still feels bad. For those people who really are emotional about their sins, which I think is a small group nowadays, unfortunately, but they'll still feel bad and emotional and guilty because they don't believe that tshuva works. So again, we have to go in number one. If you're going to do the tshuva thing properly, you have to trust that if you do it right, it's going to work. I think that's first and foremost. Now, if we have to remember that whenever we want bitachon to work, and what does bitachon working means? It means calm, tranquil, yeshiva das, even maybe simcha, or on the way to a foreseeable simcha. The only way that you can get to that place is if you correspondingly do the proper hishtadlus. Bitachon is not something you can just close your eyes and meditate on a Kadosh Baruch Hu and like, Kadosh Baruch Hu, you run the world, everything's going to be all right. That's part of the program that will work. That is bitachon, but that's in the head. If you want it to hit the heart, says the Shaar bitachon we've been learning, you have to do the hishtadlus that a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants you to do. What's the hishtadlus of tshuva? Tshuva. But there's the world of tshuva is a very big world. You can have a person who does intellectual tshuva. He does intellectual tshuva. He goes to Yom Kippur and he says, Hashamnu baganu gazanu de barnadofi. Right? He knows what it means. He has the art scroll, so he knows the words mean. To some degree, yeah, maybe I did some of these things. He klaps al chait, and he's in Yom Kippur and he believes that the Yom Kippur service works in the Kohen Gadol and the Chazan and the Sanatok. It's we'll call it an intellectual tshuva. And therefore, if that's an intellectual tshuva, it means in his shtadlis, you're doing it intellectually. So after Yom Kippur, let's say, after, you're going to intellectually trust that the tshuva worked. If you believe that tshuva works. But only intellectually, because that's what you put in, is what you get out. Right? So for many people, and I'm speaking about myself because for many, 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 many years, this is how I was doing it. Again, this basic, we do the slichus, we do all these things, some we are okay with, we don't like it so much. And then you go to Yom Kippur, and it's 24 hours, we do the fasting thing, we Inoi, good, Ashana Baganu, Kadosh Baruch, I believe in you. And once Yom Kippur's over, we're all besimcha. Some people are besimcha because Yom Kippur's over. Most people are happy because it's over. Let's move on to Sukkot. Let's go. Let's for brain. But if you want to feel lighter, if you want to feel like the tshuva worked, you need to put the proper shtadlus in. But if you only put an intellectual shtadlus in, you're only at the end, you'll be like, okay, yeah, my stomach worked. Okay, we can move on to Sukkot. But there's a whole other level of shtadlus that a person can do when it comes to tshuva. It takes more effort. It takes more time and focus. But like anything in life, for the most part, what you put in is what you get out. Right? You put the efforts in, you get out. Once in a while, as I said many times in this year, some guy didn't put so much effort into whatever it was, and he made it big. So for the rest of our life, we all want to be that guy. But that's not how it works. That's not how we teach our kids. So we shouldn't assume that either. We have to live life, we're ready to put all the effort in according to what we would like to get out. And if a Kadosh Baruch Hu decides otherwise, that's fine. But in terms of the world of bitachon, you have to put the appropriate shtadlus in. You can't put in less unless you're at that level of tzaddik. If you remember from Shaar habitachon, you want to work less and trust in the Kadosh Baruch Hu and be calm that your 1 hour a day is going to provide for you parnasa for the whole year, or whatever it is, 1 hour a day every day. You have to be at that level. But let's say we're not there. So now let's put more shtadlus in. So what's the proper shtadlus by tshuva? What could be the next level of shtadlus? Well, if intellectual hishtadlus is the first level, then emotional hishtadlus is the second level. To try to become connected, a little bit emotional about tshuva, in whatever way that may be. It might be a person working on, let's say, sins. Okay, he has to feel the charata. For some people, you need to feel the charata, the regret of what happened, in order to do the proper tshuva. And then if you believe in the koach of tshuva, then all the emotions that were charata before are going to be transformed into a simcha, into a menuchas nefesh and a simcha afterwards. And whatever energy you put in, called ishtadlus, then bitachon then it will switch around to the appropriate ending. It doesn't always work, Kadosh Baruch Hu decides, but you can't get a deep feeling of cleansing, deep, of menucha that you're cleansed, of simcha that you're cleansed, unless you put in some kind of emotions. Now, it could be during davening. It could be a person really puts his kochos into davening. Let's say we're davening here, they're singing. It could be, a person could put his energy into that, right? But there has to be some sort of emotional hishtadlus if you want to receive the benefits emotionally afterwards. Make sense? Hishtadlus and then bitachon, and then that's the program. It's a math equation. Hishtadlus plus bitachon equals calm, simcha, everything that we want in life. But you need the combination. You have to think about it because we can't speak about every single detail here. But there's different ways to do it, and a person has to think about this. Pasuk says, very, very important pasuk in all of Yom Kippur, but all of our lives, is V'yomer Hashem, Salachti Kidvarecha. So all during Slichas, we say at the beginning of Yom Kippur, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to give you a slicha. We're not going to go into the amkus what the word slicha means, mechila kapara, another time. But I'm going to give you a slicha. I'm going to pardon you. But what? Kidvarecha, according to your words. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to let you feel the effects of the pardoning according to what you ask, how you ask. Is it intellectually? So then, like everything else in life, you're in a davening, you come out of davening. Pick up a lulav, you put it down. You pick it, here we go. But if you, kidvarech, according to your words, but if you became emotional about it, about tshuva, about the charata, just even if not even about sins, just you want to return. Yeah, whatever. You became emotional, get connected. You're dorish. Again, back to the Shabbos Shuvah Drasha. You really got into it. Maybe a tear, that'd be nice. Because then Kodesh Baruch says, Salachti Kidvarech. Then I'll pardon you and you'll feel the effect of what you put in. That's what the pasuk is. Vayomer Hashem salach kidvarecha, exactly according to your words. I'll mirror you. That's how Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. It's called Midah Keneged Midah. A lot of bitachon works on that foundation of Midah Keneged Midah. You have to be open to what a Kadosh Baruch Midah Keneged Midah. You can't decide what the outcome Midah is. Like, okay, so if I do tshuva, I'm going to get money. If the bitachon is that you believe in this system, that a Kadosh Baruch Hu knows what's the proper Midah for the Midah. And it might be more important for a person to feel cleansed than to have $1 million. Because if you have $1 million and you're still stressed out and anxious, it's garnished. But if you're a person who's able to truly feel a manucha and a simcha in his life, it's better than $1 million. And Kadosh Baruch Hu knows that. And it depends on what you put in, you will get. So therefore, we have to do hishtadlus. Because hishtadlus is where you put our energy. Then bitachon is, okay, Kadosh Baruch Hu, I gave you my energy, I did my thing, you take it and do it as you see fit. Then a Kadosh Baruch Hu is able, if he sees fit, to take the energy you put in and be mahapich it from one type of energy to a different. The hishtadlus, the emotional hishtadlus of tshuva can then turn into a simcha, can turn into a menuchas nefesh, a deep-rooted hakaras hatov of life. But if I'm able to appreciate a piece of bread like a steak, so then Kadosh Baruch Hu says, here, I'm going to give you a piece of bread. I know you can appreciate it, you taste it, you chew it, you appreciate it more than the steak, whether equal or the same as the steak, and therefore, now I'll give you the bread, you don't have to work so hard anymore. Because you're working so hard in order to get the steaks. But I know you've worked on yourself and you're able to appreciate bread like you appreciate steak. So Kadosh Baruch Hu says, you don't need to spend so much money anymore. I'm going to cut down you don't need to work as hard anymore. You can do other things. You can put your time into Avodas Hashem, into tzedakahs, you spend time with your kids, I don't know. Because you don't need to work so hard to get to that thing, and only there, that's where your pleasure is. That make sense? You can only think like that if you're working on bitachon. So in terms of hishtadlus, you have to take time. You want to do the tshuva properly, you need time. To wait until Yom Kippur to do Hashamnus, halachically, maybe it works. I'm not even sure how exactly it works, but there's not going to be that much energy in those Hashamnus that turn it around. You know, authentic words of tshuva, say your own words, which you need to do that during the time. That's Aseres Tshuva. The word tshuva is in the Aseres in these 10 days. We're not supposed to wait until Yom Kippur, until Kol Nidra, until Tefillah Zakah. We have all these days, a few days now. Take 5 minutes. Even 5 minutes is better than 0 minutes. So take the time. Hishtadlus, number 1. Say some authentic words, number 2. And similar, but say with feeling. If you can. Say with a little feeling. Become emotional about it. Again, that's part of taking the time. That's doing tshuva in a proper way. And that's it. And then when you do that, you can then allow yourself to trust that a Kadosh Baruch Hu will take that tshuva and wipe you clean. Even before you start Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the stamp. It's really the culmination. Yom Kippur is a day of simcha. That's historically, when Moshe Rabbeinu came down on Yom Kippur, it was a day of simcha. He came down with the luchos. Okay, so we do all of our avodah on Yom Kippur, but it's supposed to be a day, it's Yom Simcha, that's the Gemara already says. It's not a Yom Ayom V'Noira. It's not a Yom of Pachad. Not supposed to be. The Gemara says it's a day of Simcha, a great Simcha. But you can only have that great Simcha if you did the Hishtadlus during the Aseres Tshuva. See, most people don't do the Aseres Tshuva avodah, Hishtadlus Tshuva. Therefore, they're still nervous when they come to Yom Kippur. There's a seriousness in Yom Kippur. There is a discussion about sins, but if you've built up a proper tshuva, you're not scared of your sins anymore. You're not scared that you're going to get whacked for it. Adarabah, it's a cleansing. It could be a simcha. It's releasing this dark, negative energy that you have. Person Lolani was sick and he ate something he shouldn't eat. He has to throw it up, or else he won't feel better. It's like you have to get it out, but it feels good afterwards. We don't want to imbibe those things that make us feel that way. But if you want the simcha in Yom Kippur, you have to come in. You've done hashtadlus. And if you wait to just do intellectual hashtadlus of tshuva, so that's what you get. But you put in, you get out. But I want to end up with one more thing, which is very important. That there can be something deeply rooted that's preventing this avoda. Now, first of all, we have to do this. If you've never done it, first of all, just do it because it could change your life. And don't wait till Yom Kippur. You can do whatever you want. Real tshuva. Very simple. Take the time. Say authentic words. And say them emotionally. Simple. But let's say a person does that, and he's just somehow still feeling uneasy. He's still feeling bothered. There can be something else going on. And I'll tell you, I think we've spoken about it before, but I was learning the Sefer yesterday. Malchus Shlomo. The Horn Sliper from Denver. So he said something very important. He says, Ha'adam tzorech lidmos atzmo Hashem yisbarach. A person needs to compare himself to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Piksugya, v'halachta b'drachav. Adam is Adam al-Elyon. A lot to talk about. But we have to, as the Chazal tell us, and most people have heard this medrash probably, this Gemara, Mahu chanan v'rachum, just like a Kadosh Baruch Hu is graceful, he has rachmanus. Afatah hayechanan v'rachum. So too, you have to be graceful and merciful towards other people. That's the classic understanding. Just like Kadosh Baruch Hu visits the sick. Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? He went to visit Avraham Avinu when he was healing from the Mila. So too, you have to go visit the sick and help people. Ma'ashem afatah. Ma'ashem afatah. Alkain. So he says, K'moshu yizbarach mochel avonos adam achesh osetshuvu. Just like hopefully we believe, which we have to challenge ourselves, do we believe this? That Kadosh Baruch Hu forgives a person's sins if he does tshuva. K'mokain, so too, tzarech ha'adam limchol atzmo achesh osetshuvu. Person has to forgive himself after doing tshuva. See, you could to some degree believe a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah, of course a Kadosh Baruch Hu forgives. He forgives the biggest, but not me. Or because he doesn't trust, because really, not that you believe a Kadosh Baruch Hu is the koach of pardoning, of slicha, of being mochel of honest. You don't believe that you deserve it. And we're not necessarily talking about sins. Sins is the classic sins, whatever it may be, geneva. Person has to work on that. But there's another aspect. I'm trying to say like 15 hours of shirim in one. I'm sorry. Each one of these could be spoken about. But there's another deeper aspect. I feel bad I'm doing this to you guys. But it's not just sins. That, people, yeah, we do things. But some deeper issues that we have to work with, is midos issues. Now, the Rambam already says you need to do tshuva on midos. You get angry, you need to do tshuva on that. When you have a person who's had an anger issue, let's just use that as an example. He has had an anger issue, and it comes out at work, and it comes out at his wife, and it comes out at his kids, or a woman who has an anger issue, or whatever it may be. And then you have this person who knows it's a problem. He's already turned in, he knows it's a problem, and he wants to work on it, and he tries to work on it. And he's reading the Sforim, and he's davening, and he's going to the mikvahs, he's doing whatever he's doing. And yet, once in a while, he still totally loses himself. And then he feels like garbage. He feels like garbage. Because this is his issue. He's worked on it. He's now, at least has the sense, the realization of what that does. See, the beginning stages of your anger, hours and hours of talks for this, but at the beginning stages of the anger, you don't even realize you're doing it, and how it's affecting people. But if you've done a little bit of self-work, and you recognize, that you're in the anger, and what it does to people, at the beginning stages, it's their fault. That's why you're allowed to get angry at them. In the deeper levels, you realize how much you're wrong and how much it hurts other people. And right now you're feeling bad about it, so you're working on it. But what happens when you lose it? You're not there yet. And you realize you mamish just hurt another person. It's very difficult to forgive yourself. Kadosh Baruch Hu forgave me, but I don't forgive me. That's a problem. I understand it, but then you can't move forward in the full truth. You haven't forgiven yourself. I just literally I was thinking about this phone. It's so funny how Kadosh Baruch Hu works. I had an issue this past few days, personal issue, where I only last night that I realized I made something had to happen, and I'm going to be very vague, and I was progressing in a certain way. And then this issue started to come up. and it's something that I'm not used to, and I know that I'm not good at this thing, and I was going into it, and now all the issues are coming up, and I'm starting thinking yesterday, because my head, Baruch Hashem, of the time, my head's above my heart. What's going on over here? And I pinpointed, this thing is a mistake that I've made in a different aspect. I can't explain everything now, but I've made a similar mistake like this in the past, and I'm making it again. I didn't even realize. It's something that I've wanted to work on. And I'm making this mistake again, and it's affecting other people. Nothing egregious, Baruch Hashem, but it's affecting them. And I'm feeling really bad about that. And I caught myself that it's really, what am I really feeling bad about? I'm like berating myself. I'm not, okay, it was a mistake. I've made these mistakes before. Let's do tshuva and let's move on. But I was struggling with that because I just realized that we don't always forgive ourselves. For when you have a sensitive point and you make that mistake, it's still raw. So even if we believe in the tshuva and we do the hishtadlus, or we try to, we're going to be prevented from the emotional level of hishtadlus of tshuva if we're not willing to forgive ourselves. And we have to, because if you're still alive, then a Kadosh Baruch Hu trusts in you. And if a Kadosh Baruch Hu trusts in you, then you have to trust in a Kadosh Baruch Hu that trusts in you. And therefore you have to let it go. Because otherwise, you're not being a habitachon. Okay. There's a lot of this, a lot to unpack probably. I apologize for coming down with like 14 different shirim in one, but listen to it again. We could always shmooze about points. But hopefully some things will resonate and become real. So, okay, and we should have a Gemara Tova. And I think next week, if there are people around, we'll be talking on Sukkot. It's the Chag of Bitachon, so it's Yom Kippur, so it's Rosh Hashanah, so it's Purim. They're all Chag of Bitachon. Okay, Gemara Tova.